So our last topic I'm going to pose to Michelle to start, and it's mentorship in crisis situations and how to manage those. And so the first point that maybe you could speak on is how all the firms now have a mentorship program, and they're all with the best of their best intended to help young associates. But how can an associate best utilize their mentor?
I guess I'll start by saying that I think the premise is actually a little bit flawed, because I don't think anybody has only one mentor. You probably all have been assigned a particular person to play that role for you, but truthfully, there's lots of different types of wisdom to draw from. And so I would answer a different question, which is not how to use your actual mentor, but how to seek out and find and utilize a whole array of mentors. And I don't think it needs to be anything particularly formal. It doesn't need to be anything that your firm is actually set up for you. If you're with an organization where you maybe summarized an article, you'll have a good sense of who the players are. If you're with an organization that you've joined more recently and laterally, you'll need to take some time to figure that out. But spend a lot of time watching people. If it's important to you to find a female mentor who seems to have it together, look for those people, and whether they've been assigned to be your mentor or not, ask to take them for coffee and say, I'm actually a little bit in awe of you because you seem to be managing everything incredibly well, and you're happy and you've got kids and you look great, so help me understand how can I be you. And I think people find that really flattering, and may have some tips that you'll learn from. But nobody has an answer, like a single formula answer. And if that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to fail. And if any of us had a single answer, we'd be making millions of dollars as consultants. So, everybody kind of has to figure it out for themselves, but there's a lot of wisdom in the organizations that you work with, whether those are senior people, whether those are junior people, it really doesn't matter. But information gather, and then at the end of the day, trust yourself. I think you all have to follow the dictum that nobody knows you and nobody knows your life better than you do. And some of the advice that you're going to be given maybe just isn't applicable or isn't going to work in your context. So feel free to disregard it. But try and learn from people who have, to varying degrees of success, got what it is that you're aspiring to.
Okay, so I'll be a little bit specific on that and going back a little bit to work-life balance and crisis. So you're feeling stressed about meeting a client demand. Who do you go to? Do you go to, are there, what I've heard from a lot of associates is that you don't know who to speak to. Some of these questions might sound trite or silly, or frankly, they're just kind of embarrassed to raise it to somebody. So who do you talk to when you want to understand, what is the right response time to a client? I have to get somewhere. I'm on a baseball team. That's really important to me. Mm-hmm. Is silly enough. Like, can I talk to my mentor about that? Like, these are things that, or it could be something quite serious, and maybe baseball's serious to someone, but it could be a family matter, an aging parent, or it could be, it could be a sport. It could be a billiards game. Since we're in hustling mode. Yes. But who's appropriate to speak to, and should anyone feel foolish? Because I think that's what it is. You're embarrassed to ask some of these questions because they seem like they're common sense.
I'm a big fan of peer mentors, and I think that those kind of examples, mentors don't have to be senior partners or even partners. There's a lot of wisdom amongst your peers. Those are the kinds of questions that you're going to want to bounce off of somebody down the hall who's maybe your year of call, maybe a couple of years senior. I think mid-level and senior associates are a great source of wisdom. Talk to them. Here's the situation that I'm in. How do I handle it? And specifically, how do I handle it given that it's this partner? Because the answer will truthfully be different. And that's the kind of stuff that no institution is going to be able to formally impart to you. But, you know, newsflash, different partners have different level of tolerance for different things. And there'll be some situations where, again, your peers will be able to say, you know what, under no circumstances should you actually raise this, because that's just going to go badly. Versus if it's another partner, you know what, she's totally approachable, go and talk to her. And that's the kind of real information that you need to get out of the organizations that you're working with that frankly, it's very difficult for people in our roles to impart. And it's very difficult for the partner who's your former mentor to impart, sometimes because they don't know, because their relationship with your partner mentor is very different than the relationship that the third-year associate who's lived through this has. So absolutely, I think peer mentors are invaluable.
So when does an associate go to you, or the person who is like you?
If I can just jump in, I think, you know, specific questions, and Michelle and I are dodging a bit, are hard to answer because, or sort of general, there is no real answer. But I think that what's going to get you through is judgment and resilience. So judgment in terms of who to ask and when and how to ask certain things will really go a very long way. And judgment just generally in your practice will go a very long way. And resilience in terms of really kind of taking a step back and not taking it all on personally. Don't own it. If somebody's just yelled at you, perhaps you've made a mistake. But equally valid is perhaps they're under pressures that you're just not seeing. So really taking a step back from that and not letting it, you know, get right into who you are, I think will really be helpful. And again, it goes along with judgment. So taking a step back, not panicking, taking a long-term view will all help you get there. You know, it's really great to see so many women in this room starting on their careers, and I do believe that we have a lot to add to the practice that is different than our male counterparts. So, you know, I really hope to impart just on my last comment that, you know, I really hope in 10 years you're sitting at this table giving the advice to young lawyers, although it's probably been more like 20 for us, but who's counting?
Thanks.
You just said you had a 27-year-old and a 23-year-old.